Hello, good evening, and welcome to a quick little taste of this beer here. A beer called APA-4, or American Pale Ale APA-4, from a brewery called Dougall's up in Cantabria, up north a little bit from my home here in Madrid. And we are going to give this a go. It's a pretty new one from 2023. And we're gonna give it a try, see how it goes. Okay, we are gonna get into this beer from Dougall's. They opened up in 2006, or they've been making their beer since 2006. Kind of one of those classic, kind of old school craft beer stories. Couldn't find the beer they wanted, so they started making it themselves. Kind of grew organically from there. And they've become one of my, I think, favorite go-to reliable breweries. They do a bit more of the styles that I tend to enjoy the most. Classic American pale ales, brown ales, porters, good, clean American style West Coast IPAs. But they also do some really great hazy IPAs, and they do some great collaborations. They definitely have a good reputation for just making really great, consistent beer. And when it comes to being, a brewery that I'm going to say is like one of my favorite in Spain, well, they have to be consistent and clean and reliable. And Dougall's, I would say, has been one of the most reliable beers or breweries for me out here in Spain since I arrived. And I'm excited to give this one a go. And in fact, I think one of my resolutions this year is to really just drink more Dougall's, because they make really good stuff. They never let me down, and it's at a good price, and it's really high quality. You could tell they focus on the ingredients. The more I learn about them too, the more I learn about like their ethos. They're very, I think he made a statement a few years ago. It's like, beer is political in a way, and it's like kind of part of that like statement of saying this is about quality and trying things that are local, and like supporting local and being a good neighbor and a good citizen. And for me, that's what beer is all about too. It's all part of that whole ecosystem, and I really appreciate that. So this beer itself, it's number 4, I believe, because it's like a reference to their IPA, which is called IPA-4. So the IPA is like 6.4% alcohol, I want to say. I have my cheat sheet here. This one's 4.7, and the hops are Columbus, Cascade, Mosaic, and Equinox. And yeah, we're gonna give this a go. It says the malts are extra pale and Kerrygold. So here's a little pour. Nice, so you can see really good foam stand. I tend to pour pretty heavy to kind of let it gas a little bit or degas a bit. A touch of haze, or it's not brilliant clear, but maybe some like dry hop haze or some light yeast haze. The foam is like bone white, very consistent. You can see lots of tight bubbles with little bits of like fisheye bubble up here. The color is like a light gold, or a little bit above like straw, I guess, like hay. Aroma is leaping out of the glass already. Lots of citrus, definitely coming to mind with like grapefruit, mandarin orange, and a little touch of passion fruit in there. Definitely some good pine, like herbaceous, danky qualities. Cool, thinking about it. So like the first things that kind of like came to mind, or that like I noticed about the beer, really had to do with more about the body. I'll comment on that first. Pretty silky, it feels dry and light, but it has a nice silky texture to it, so it's not too thin, right? And it's dry in terms of, it doesn't feel heavy, and I don't get a lot of like residual sugar. But then that immediately was followed up by a pretty firm bitterness, like, whoa, like, hey, what's up, 1995, like in a good way. I just appreciate when brewers respect my ability to handle a little bit of bitterness. It's like talking to me with big words, and I'm like, thank you for respecting my ability to actually like handle flavor. Aroma, as I mentioned before, a lot of that citrus and that pine and herbaceous qualities. So that's more me describing that hop characteristic. Hop aroma, in terms of intensity of all beers, I would call this a medium hop intensity. Looking for some malt characteristics, I get a very low bready and biscuit, and looking for some yeast characteristics. No alcohol like burn or anything like that, which is good. We're just having a 4.7% beer, so I'm not really expecting it. No diacetyl, no acetaldehyde, very clean fermentation. There might be a little touch of pear in there that could be coming from some yeast fermentation profile, but that could also be part of that hop aromatic as well. But yeah, very clean, very nice. And on to the flavor. well, big time, like mandarin and grapefruit. Very, very fresh citrus, like really like the juice part of the, like biting into like the actual flesh of a really good juicy mandarin orange. And it still has like that pithy quality, as you're peeling the orange, and you get that pith in your fingernails, and you get that really resinous sort of quality. All of that is really there. It really feels like eating a really nice piece of citrus. The grapefruit, a little bit in the background, but it's definitely there. And then that herbaceous and piney quality is also lingering. Overall, the hop flavor I would pin at like medium plus. The bitterness, medium plus, like I'd say a pretty firm medium plus on the bitterness. Malt characteristic, that like going from the aroma where I said like low bread and biscuit, now I'm going on like very low bread and biscuit. Definitely the balance is towards the hop. This is what this beer is definitely showcasing, what it's all about, which is exactly what this style is supposed to do, but in a nice 4.7% alcohol package, so loads of flavor for a beer that I could drink like 2 or 3 of these, especially if I'm having a meal. Yeast profile, a little touch of like alcohol. It's not boozy, it's not hot. I just, can detect it because I know it's there, but that's probably enhanced by this kind of dry finish. And, it could even be like those tannins from the hop bitterness kind of playing a role in that and kind of tricking my mind, but I'll comment on it regardless. And let's talk about the carbonation. We can see that head is pretty persistent there. As I pull more, you can see that foam up quite nicely. Give it a swish, the old carbonation test. Medium plus. So earlier I was gonna make a comment and I kind of like stopped myself. The firm, like the bitterness here is like, if you want to find an example of equivalent, like when I say medium plus bitterness, etc., finding a really good fresh Sierra Nevada Pale Ale would be an equivalent. That's usually what I use as my kind of like calibration beer to say like this is a firm medium or like medium plus bitterness, and this is right there with it. It doesn't quite have like the caramel characteristic of that beer. I'm not really comparing those two beers here, but it does make me smile and feel happy inside because sometimes, or I should say oftentimes, I'm just looking for the like complexity and simplicity and delicate intricacies of a beer like that. And this nails it. Something I can keep, in the fridge and just have with like a meal. So let's talk about food. One of my go-tos when I think about American Pale Ales is I think of like fish tacos or like TJ style street tacos. I come from a city where, a neighboring city of Tijuana. So I have a lot of fond memories of pairing beers with really good quality Mexican food, especially like Tijuana style Mexican food. And Pale Ale and like Sierra Nevada Pale Ale, I feel like I grew up pairing those things together. So whenever I think of like really good, at least northern, Baja California Mexican food, I think of American Pale Ale. I think as far as cheese, you need to go something that's fairly pungent. You have that bitterness, it's going to cut through a lot of like oil, like fatty, creamy cheeses. So you have a lot of fun to work with there. The herbaceous qualities here, you might look for a cheese that already has like a lot of herbaceous quality as well. Those two might cancel each other out, and you might get something kind of interesting with what is hiding below the herbaceousness of the cheese. Even one that's like maybe a little blue, so it has like a little tannin funkiness to it already, and then the bitterness here kind of cancels that out. The herbaceousness here kind of works with that as well. You might pull out some of those more like fruity elements out of the cheese. What else? Pizza, of course. Pasta. This is really going to work well with all sorts of sauces, whether they're more like creamy based sauces. It's going to cut through the kind of fat and the creaminess there and really cleanse the palate. The citrus can work really nicely to sort of enhance a dish as well. So something that's perhaps lacking a little bit of herbaceous or fruity characteristics. This beer might bring some of that to the table. My wife's from Argentina, so dulce de leche comes to mind. And food, we covered, boom, boom, boom. We talked about the brewery itself. So I think that pretty much covers it for this. Other than like a shameless plug, like invitation to come visit me here in Spain and come drink these beers. If you are here, you should get your hands on this. If you're in Europe, I'm pretty sure you'll be able to find Dougall's around. I'm not sure what their like distribution footprint looks like. But I have to say, in terms of like my style preference, Dougall's has been like very much becoming my kind of like favorite go-to. Yeah, thanks Dougall's. Keep making good stuff, and I'll keep drinking it, and I'll keep talking about it. So that is that for now. Like, subscribe, etc. Let me know if you've had any of these beers. If you are coming to visit anywhere in Spain, then I hope you will find this anywhere. Pretty sure on their website you can do that. Fun trick for when you are in a city, say you're in Spain, you're not in Madrid, you didn't hit me up for whatever reason, I don't know why, and you're in a small town even, and you want to find just a good bar. When you find a brand like Dougall's that you know has a pretty good footprint, if you just search for Dougall's, you might find bars pop up in that small little town or that city you're in, and that might take you towards a craft beer bar where you can get Dougall's and try other things. So if the search for like craft beer isn't working, etc., then try finding at least one reliable, somewhat national or regional brand and then searching for them and see where they pop up. That was not related to this really, whatever. Okay, cheers. Have a great day. Take care. Thanks for joining me. Bye.